Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope y'all are having a wonderful week. In today's video, I am going to be showing you guys 5 super easy, inexpensive, quick, low carb or keto snacks that you can make to keep at home or take along with you, or even if you're going to like a party or get together, whatever. These are great for any of that. Alright, so the first recipe I made was the big cheddar and Parmesan crisps. I'm gonna apologize real quick for my camera quality in the video. I realized after I shot my shots that my arm was right in front of the camera for some of the shots, so I'm going to try to walk you guys through what I'm doing even if my arm is in front of the camera. So anyways, I started for this recipe by grating my cheddar cheese, and I made sure to grate it really fine because I figured that would help to make it melt easier and blend in with the Parmesan better. The Parmesan cheese I bought was already grated, so I didn't have to do that, and then I just grabbed my Italian seasoning out of the cupboard, and that's all the things that you need for this recipe. So after I grated it, I went ahead and put half of my cheddar cheese in a bowl and then put half of the Parmesan, or an equal amount to the cheddar cheese, in the bowl as well, and mixed it up because I made a total of 3 kinds of these crisps. So I had a cheddar Parmesan blend, I had a straight cheddar cheese, and I had Parmesan cheese. After my cheese was ready, I went ahead, grabbed a cookie sheet, and just put the cheese on the cookie sheet in about 1 to 2 tablespoon piles. I just put 6 cheese crisps on a cookie sheet because I did not want them to run together. Also, I did not spray it or anything, and I didn't have any issues with them sticking. After I finished putting all the cheese piles on the pan, I went ahead and just sprinkled it with my Italian seasoning. These turned out really great. The first cookie sheet that I put in the oven, I just left in for 4 minutes because I thought they looked like they were getting done, but really they needed a couple extra minutes more. So the second batch that I did, I left in for more like 6 to 8 minutes, and they definitely got better and more crispy and not soft in the middle like the first ones. The flavor overall was great, and I've had the bought-in ones, and honestly I think these tasted just as good or better, and they were super easy, inexpensive, and quick to make. The second thing I made was peanut butter balls. Before I go any farther, I'll just let you guys know that these recipes will all be down in the description box, or their links will be down there for recipes that are similar to what I have done. So for this recipe, the actual recipe called for a liquid sweetener, and I did not have that on hand. So I decided to make 2 different batches, one with a stevia extract and one with swerve confectioner substitute. So I started by adding together my peanut butter and my coconut flour, and I mixed that to make sure that that was well mixed. I then added in 2 small scoops of my stevia extract, and I made sure to mix that in really well so you didn't end up biting into a really strong part of stevia. After that was well mixed, I went ahead and dropped the peanut butter balls by tablespoonfuls onto a sheet of parchment paper. After I was done doing this, I stuck them in the fridge just to harden them up a little bit. For my second batch, I mixed all the ingredients up the same way, but instead of adding in 2 small scoops of stevia, I added in about 1/4 a cup of the swerve confectioner substitute. In my opinion, the second batch turned out better. I think the confectioner sugar texture and quantity just gives the batter a little bit more stiffness and helps them to hold their form a little bit better than just using a couple small scoops of stevia. The way I make my puppy chow pork rinds is a little bit different from the recipe I'm including in the description box. But the way that I made these is I went ahead and broke up the pork rinds into smaller bite-sized pieces. I then mixed 1/3 cup of chocolate chips with about a tablespoon of butter and put it in the microwave to melt. The chocolate chips I used were a no sugar added brand. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I can leave a link in the description box below once I find out. So once they were melted, I mixed them up very well and then added in about a teaspoon of cinnamon. Once that was mixed in well, I poured it over the pork rinds and just tossed them until they were well coated. I then added in about 2 tablespoons of the Swerve confectioner substitute and mixed that up. You can add more or less, it kind of just depends on what the pork rinds look like, how much sugar you want on them, and just your personal preference. After they were all mixed up, I spread out a piece of parchment paper on my counter and just spread out the pork rind mixture on there to dry. I think I left it out for about 2 hours to get good and dry before I stored them in a container. For the next snack I made, I went ahead and started by again breaking up my pork rinds into small bite-sized pieces. You don't have to do this, but it's just something I prefer to do because I like the smaller pieces better. I then melted my butter in the microwave, and after that was done, I added in all my seasonings. The Cajun seasoning that I found and used was just the Walmart brand seasoning, but honestly, I think you could use almost any Cajun seasoning in the recipe and it still turned out great.
Everything changes.
After my butter and seasonings were all mixed together, I went ahead and poured them over my pork rinds and tossed it really well to coat. I then spread out the pork rinds on parchment paper on a cookie sheet and put them in the oven to bake for an hour and a half at 250. The last snack I made was the cinnamon sugar pork rinds. I started by filling up a quart-sized bag with the pork rind pieces. I then melted about 3 to 4 tablespoons of butter in the microwave to pour in the bag over top the pork rinds. I probably could have done with less butter, but it still turned out okay this way. While my butter was melting, I mixed my cinnamon and my Swerve sugar substitute together to make a cinnamon sugar mixture. I then poured my melted butter into the bag over top my pork rinds. I tossed them a little bit to coat all the pork rinds with the butter, and then I added in my cinnamon sugar mixture and closed the bag and made sure to toss that really well so they were all well coated. I ended up going back and actually baking these at about 400 for maybe 2 to 3 minutes just to make the pork rinds crispier because they got a little soft. Overall, this recipe turned out great, and I definitely would say I will make it again. I hope this video gave you some great keto snack ideas. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.